Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Security Champions podcast. I'm your host, Dustin Lair. I'm here with Mark McMillan. I'm really excited about this conversation. He and I have chatted quite a bit, so I'm really excited to kind of bring some of our conversations live, right, to you, the audience. But I think a good start here would just be a little bit of your background, Mark. If you don't mind sharing more about yourself, how did you get into cybersecurity, all of that stuff.
Yeah, of course. Dustin, thank you for having me on. It's a true pleasure to be able to talk to you about Cybersecurity Champions and my background a little bit. I started with Rocket almost 10 years ago. It was then Quicken. We've changed names a few times. I started in content strategy, which is just, helping to write. I was doing document audits to identify elements that were outdated so that we could make sure that every bit of our processes were buttoned up. I really liked that. I had a journalism degree that got me in the door. But yeah, it worked for a couple internships, and then realized that I need to make the big boy money. I need a real job. So I was hooked up with surfacing technology. Again, kind of fish out of water. Had one area, and then I went to another area, but just tried to master my art there, which was a lot of permissions access, which then brought me the attention of information security here at Rocket, because I was liaising with them to do permissions access and work with our auditors. So I was formally brought on to information security almost 6 years ago, where I was given the ability to work on the identity management team, the controls team, which is handling access controls and the audits that come with that, and then the awareness team, which does marketing and PR. I'm sure you're familiar, which includes the Champions program. By the end of my first year in information security, it was decided that I was to be full-time on the awareness team. I had buttoned up a couple of the other duties that I had, so I was full-time on the awareness team. And after a couple months, I was given complete control over the Champions group. That's it.
Well, that sounds exciting.
It was
Yeah, that's exciting. I'm excited to get into that topic for sure. Quick caveat for everyone: the things we talk about during this episode are our own opinions and do not represent the opinions of our employers. All right, just had to kind of get that out of the way. Hopefully, everyone understands that anyway. But yeah, okay. So you got into security awareness then pretty quick, and I'm curious about that field. We don't actually talk about security awareness all that often on this show. Can you tell me more? Like, what is involved? What does security awareness mean? What's the mission? Like, what are you trying to accomplish through security awareness?
That's a great question. Security awareness is kind of the house that the Information Security Champions, the advocacy group, lives in for us. But it's a big house. It encompasses a lot of things. Let's start with just the main mission. We are here to help people. Often information security, cybersecurity is seen as the stick and not the carrot. Hey, you're doing the wrong thing. We're gonna tell you you're doing the wrong thing. We're going to maybe talk to your leader about something or institute some controls on what you're doing. Often seen as the stick. It shouldn't be. It's the carrot. We in information security are trying to remove obstacles from your day-to-day so that you can get your job done. So as just a overarching mission statement, we're here to help people. We're here to help you with cybersecurity, no matter the issue. If we don't know, we can connect you with the person that does. A sort of a support system, sort of a triage system, but also has so many more duties. An information security awareness program is responsible for simulations. So sending out phishing simulations or multi-factor authentication simulations or password guessing simulations. Here at Rocket, we amalgamate those simulation scores into what's known as a scorecard so our team members can see how they're doing. And I often tell them when we're doing analog education, your scorecard is probably indicative of how well you're doing in your personal life as well. So pay attention to that. Other aspects, the generating of actual content for those sims takes a bit. You want to do some research. You want to know what will work to get a team member to not click, what will work to get a team member to click, how will that affect the simulation results, how do we relay that information to our leaders. And then there's, of course, project communications. Hey, this system is shutting down, you need to make the following adjustments so that you're in compliance with information security standards. Or how about blog writing, things like that. Here's an interview with our chief technology officer, and he's telling you why cybersecurity and buttoning up your multi-factor authentication is the right way to do things. Or here's a deepfake video of our CTO. Does this scare you? You should be paying attention to these kind of things. So In a way, I say it's marketing and PR for information security, for cybersecurity, whatever organization that is. But there's a really succinct way of putting it that SANS actually introduced me to, SANS certifications. It's we mitigate human risk. That's it. We mitigate human risk.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I would love to, and you sort of started to talk about a lot of things that I want to cover because, the effectiveness of this stuff is hard to measure sometimes, and I think people struggle with this. Um, I do think that there's a lot of folks that maybe over rely on the stick as well. Can you maybe as a way to kind of frame the next part of the conversation? Tell me about the
Sure.
stick, right? Like one thing that I've seen is, you failed your phishing test. So you have to take additional training or whatever that is. You've already talked about how you kind of flipped the script a little bit and started to use more carrots. So tell me about the stick approach. Tell me about its effectiveness compared to the carrot approach.
Great question.
And sort of what you've seen there.
Great question. Let's take your example. Somebody clicks a phishing simulation. All right. So now there's probably some sort of remediation for them, or maybe if it's your company, they've clicked 3 phishing simulations in a row. Something like that triggers some sort of remediation. How do you approach that remediation? Because the remediation itself doesn't need to necessarily be a stick. Not at all. The remediation could be a game. You bring a game to somebody, say, you know what, we're going to sit down for 15 minutes. We're just going to play a game. I know there's plenty of games out there that involve cybersecurity or cybersecurity awareness. You could just do that. It's all about the approach that you take. So let's just say the approach that we're going to take, somebody clicked on the phishing sim, they're a repeat clicker. We need to get them an education. The best way to get them that education is in person. So we're going to say, we're going to meet up with you and maybe a bunch of other, maybe 5 to 10 other repeat clickers. We're going to get you in a room. All right, so what's your approach? What's your approach when you get in that room? Are you going to start up a slideshow and say, here's what you need to do? I'm going to lecture you, do this, do that, do this. That's the stick. That's going to make people automatically feel shame. They've done something wrong. They're stuck in this place with you until you're done. They're really just waiting out the clock. That's the stick. And the stick can manifest in other forms too. It could be you clicked on 3 phishing sims, you're gone. You're just simply not in the company anymore. That could be the stick. We are shying away from that big time. At least in my opinion, that's the wrong approach. Is the punishment approach. Now, the approach that I take, the carrot, is you get into that meeting room. Same example. You get into that meeting room. Let's have some fun. And that all starts with the person who's doing the presentation or the whatever remediation training that is, their approach. When I go into a meeting like that, I say, I'm smiling. I'm happy. I want to see these people. I'm so glad because they're my clients. These are my clients. If I'm a banker and I'm not happy to talk to a client who's going to give me money, there's something wrong. If I'm an information security awareness professional, a cybersecurity champion leader, and I'm not going out and happy to talk to my clients, there's something wrong. So that's the carrot. You get in there. You could even have the same training content, the same slideshow. Maybe you have examples of phishing emails where you call out those red flags. Just don't lecture to them. Be like, you know what? If you can spot 3 of these, if one of you can spot 3 of these, I'm automatically going to give you points. I'm going to be so proud of you. If every one of you can spot 1 red flag in all that we go through, I'm going to shout you out to your director. I'm going to shout you out to your director and say, hey, this is not a problem area. Whatever the approach was that got these repeat clicks, we figured that out in this 30-minute meeting or this 1-hour meeting. You want people to feel empowered by the end of that, not lectured, not beaten down, empowered to go out afterwards and do the right things with regards to not clicking on a phishing email, to spotting those red flags, to training their minds to just have muscle memory and see those red flags everywhere they go, because that's the future. And part of that also is relating to them and helping them understand that this is the future. I often say, my mom's not the best at understanding cybersecurity. And sometimes it's tough to get through to my mom. We all have people like that in our lives. So if you can make it relatable, it's a very, very good thing. If I'm talking about passwords, it's not phishing. If I'm talking about passwords, I say, yeah, I had a email account back in 1998, and man, was my password bad. It was the infancy of my use of the internet, and I didn't know any better, and I had to teach myself these things. So now you can rely on me to help you teach those things. You have a level up. You have a hand reaching out to you to pull you to the mountaintop. That's the carrot. That's the carrot. And it takes actual caring about these people. This can't just be a job to you. Yeah, we're here to make money. We're here to do all that kind of stuff. But the carrot is all about understanding that it's for the people. That's it. You don't want to alienate them.
Yeah, I love that. And I like the way that you are humbling yourself too and saying, hey, you know what? I have fallen for the same types of things. It just sort of makes you real instead of this security person that knows everything.
It does.
And why didn't you do this? And I'm going to shame you because I know better. Right. And I think that frankly, it makes you a good teacher because you sort of put yourself back into the mindset of when I didn't know this, here's how I learned it. So now I can sort of take how I learned it and help others learn as well.
100%. It's, and if I could just continue there, it's infectious as well. I've gone into these meetings where we've got the highest of the higher ups in these meetings. And I say, hey, I had a bad password. Here's what it was, or the phishing email that I clicked on when I was an intern was bring your dog to work day. I couldn't click it fast enough. Like that kind of relatability gets people to come out of their shells. And then you have the highest of the high saying, oh, you know what? I clicked on a phishing email. Here are the red flags. And everyone in the room is paying attention because that highest of the higher up is emoting and giving a little bit of vulnerability. And that is so infectious and relatable and valuable to those around you. You don't want to be around around a leader who's just completely stoic all the time. Sure, stoicism in leadership is excellent and it is a good thing, but you want a little bit of that relatability, a little bit of that vulnerability as well. So if you come into a situation where you are being the carrot and not the stick, you are also encouraging others to do the same. And I always say, you like, I love sound bites as well. This is what I always say: strength is knowing our teammates' weaknesses. That way we can shore up everybody's weaknesses with our strengths. That's it. So honesty is the best way to do that.
So I really love this approach, and I think it's definitely the approach that you have that led me to invite you on the show, frankly, because I think that you have a unique approach that you've been able to show really works. I think everything that you're saying certainly applies to more of my world, which isn't necessarily focused on awareness, although I've spent a lot of time rolling out awareness programs myself as well. But it's a little bit more of the developer security side, right?
Yeah.
How do we teach developers, right, to code securely and so forth? And I think the approach that you're mentioning would certainly translate to that side as well, right? Instead of shaming folks for, hey, you put this vulnerability into the code base, whatever it is, taking a little bit more of the approach that you're using, right? Using the carrot, making it fun, connecting with folks. This is stuff that I talk about all the time. Have you kind of run across that situation as well? Have you had to sort of take this approach and apply it to developer training too?
Absolutely. It's the mindset. You retain that mindset, but you have to take just a little bit different of an approach, especially with someone like me. I don't have a technical background. I journalism degree and then a master's degree in organizational communication. So I don't have a technical background. The technical expertise that brought me to the attention of information security, I learned in-house. I learned all of that in-house. So the approach I take, it's interesting because I forget the gentleman's name. He was an ace fighter in World War II. He's an ace combat fighter, plane flyer, aviator, I should say. And he did really, really well. And they brought him to help lead some people in, I think it was the Korean War. And teach him how to fly, all these kind of things, or maybe it was well after. Either way, he was a leader. And when he first came in, he was used to older planes. So they brought him in, and now brand new planes. These are crazy capabilities, way faster than anything that he was used to. And Of course, he was respected immediately because he was an ace. He had that experience and everything like that. But that doesn't take you the entire way. You could say something and totally put off your entire the people that you're leading. You could easily do that. His approach was he came in and all those people who'd flown those planes before who were under him, he said, "Teach me, teach me, show me, show me what you know. Treat me as if I'm a newbie. I'm going to sit in that seat. You're going to tell me all about the buttons and the resistance on the stick and all of that kind of stuff. You teach me." And in 2 weeks, he had it down, but he also had the extra respect of the people under him because of that approach. That's the approach that I take. So, all right. So we found a vulnerability with a technical team, an engineering team. Maybe they created a product without building in cybersecurity features or functions or something like that. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to sit down with them. I'm going to say, "Hey, thank you for having me here. This is a big deal. I know that your time is precious. I'm not going to waste it. Help me understand. Just help me understand. Walk me through the process. If it's something that you're building in SQL, I know a little bit of SQL. Walk me through what you were thinking. I can kind of check the code a little bit, but teach me. Teach me what I don't know. And then I'm going to use the knowledge that I've gained and then my outside the box kind of expertise, and then my infosec knowledge where I know what needs to happen. And I'm going to fold all those together to craft the best solution. And that's not going to be a stick. It's going to be a carrot. All right. So we have a timetable. Oh, your leaders want you to get this, and this done within the next quarter. All right. If you can fold in these improvements as well that shore up our vulnerabilities, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to go to your leader. I'm not going to go to your director. I'm going to go to your VP. And I'm going to shout you out. And I'm going to do that in person. I'm not going to do that via email. I'm not going to do that via phone call. I'm going to walk right up to their desk. I'm going to have all of your names listed. And I'm going to say, "Look how quickly they shored up a vulnerability that could have got our program into some trouble." That's the approach. You go in seeking to understand. I'll give another soundbite. Always, always, always seek to understand. Do not seek to condemn. If you seek to condemn, you will shut people down. If you seek to understand, you will open them up. Remember, it's all about people. It's not about processes. Everything that we do, every part of a champions program, every part of an awareness program is all about helping the people. That's what we want to do. So we seek to understand first.
I love that. And I think the approach in general is helpful to help them uncover what they might have done incorrectly, right? Or what they could have done better. You don't truly, how much do you truly know something unless you can teach someone else? So you're sort of putting them through that experience, and it's sort of forcing them to retrace their own steps and really think about their own thought process that led to introducing that vulnerability, which I think makes it sort of seem obvious. And if you know how to ask the right questions, which comes from your experience in cybersecurity, did you think about the user, the input that the user is able to submit to the system?
Mm-hmm.
Did you think about all the different possibilities there, et cetera? Then they should have that aha moment.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to get that aha moment when you give them the space to sort of explore that themselves.
Brilliant.
So
Yep.
I think that approach is spot on.
And I appreciate that. There's two things here. It's you learn more when you teach someone else. That's the best way to learn, is to teach someone else. So if they're in a room teaching me, and then there's the second aspect, you develop yourself more when you speak your thoughts out loud, when you can hear those thoughts out loud and they're not just rolling around in your head. So then you've got a group of people who are teaching and learning more about their process via teaching and saying these things out loud to relay them to me amongst each other. Perhaps they haven't done that before. So now they're understanding more about their own process. And as I'm going through, I'm like, yeah, usually in information security, we have this, and this as far as our controls. What do you think about that? Oh, yeah, that, and that. Like, we could fold that in. It would take this timetable. We start to solution while learning. It's a beautiful approach for sure.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. And I think, your non-dev background probably goes a really long way to draw them out, because you're sort of setting aside the things that which is a lot, right? But maybe not so much the technical side.
Mm-hmm.
So that allows them to kind of open up and put them in a position where they're teaching you something. I would see someone like myself or another more sort of technical person struggling with that a little bit, because you kind of want to come in with the solution.
Yeah.
Right. So I think what I would encourage all the listeners, all the audience here to do, especially if you're technical, is put that aside for a minute during conversations like this.
Yeah.
Right? Help them, like make it about them and walk them through the entire process of figuring out what went wrong and so forth, instead of just coming in with the solution. And I know that it's tempting. I've certainly been in that position before where I'm like, oh, geez, I know the answer. I just want to tell them, but it would be more fruitful for them to let them work it out themselves.
It's not the best approach to be a steamroller. That's if you come in, you're like, hey, I'm big and bad, and everybody's gonna have to listen to me. It doesn't always get the most respect or adherence or even attention paid to it. It could just tune that out for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's an advantage having a background that sort of relates to them, but I think that's the extent of what you should try to establish. You know what I mean? And then make it about them. So what I mean is when I have these kinds of conversations, I tell them, look, I was a developer for over a decade. And that's it. That's all I say about it. And then it's about having a conversation with them. What do you think? What led to this? What was your thought process and all of that stuff? So, yeah. I think we need to take a slight break to hear from our sponsor. But when we come back, I really want to talk about how Champions fits into all of this, how Champions kind of fits into the awareness approach, the developer approach, all of that stuff. So let's take a pause and we will be right back.
None of the top 50 university programs teach secure coding in their curriculum. At Security Journey, we help enterprises reduce vulnerabilities through application security education for developers and everyone in the SDLC. With almost 700 up-to-date lessons created by industry-leading security experts and a programmatic approach that creates security champions, our programs have increased AppSec knowledge by as much as 85%. Visit securityjourney.com to try our training today.
All right, and we are back with Mark McMillan, and this has been a really interesting conversation so far, talking about security awareness, the right way to sort of train folks and bring more of the carrot approach, less of the stick, into cybersecurity in general. I definitely want to talk about your Champions program, because it's impressive and it is certainly a big chunk of what you do. So do you want to just tell me a little bit more about the Champion program that you've helped build?
Yeah, of course. It was already in existence when I joined information security, but it only had 40 champions. So depending on the depending on the approach, you could take many different approaches to creating a champions program, to curating a champions program. I was kind of flying by the seat of my pants. I needed to make sure that what I was doing was impactful. So I really did take that carrot approach first, and tried to expand the champions program organically. I've never had a contest where it's like recruit champions and then you get points, something like that. That's never been the goal, because a champions program should be natural advocates. I even pulled up a definition here, so I'm just going to read that real quick. An information security champions program is a structured initiative that enlists passionate, security-minded employees from across departments to act as local advocates for cybersecurity. These individuals, often not part of the formal information security team, serve as connectors, educators, and first responders within their business areas, helping to embed security awareness and best practices into everyday workflows. All right, so let's bottle that. Let's bottle that and condense it down. Let's say you're in a dark room, just a very, very dark room, and I'm here and I'm handing out candles. I'm just handing out candles. So you come up to me and you're like, I really like candles. Can you give me a candle? I'm like, cool. I give you a candle. I light it. That room is less dark. I got 50 people who want candles out of tens of thousands. All right, that room is a lot less dark now. And now I've got 950 people who want candles. That room is pretty bright, and those candles can travel. So that person can go to another person who maybe has a candle that's not lit and light that candle. And now they have the benefit of the light. So obviously the light is the education, the knowledge that we need to stay safe from cybercrime. The darkness is cybercrime itself. It's the cyber threats that are out there that we're not aware of, that could be hiding around a corner in a program that we developed that we didn't think about cybersecurity first, or maybe it's grandma having a sticky note on her laptop with her passwords or something like that. It's whatever we can solve for to shore up and again be those connectors, educators, and first responders. At the bare minimum, it's that last thing. At the bare minimum, I don't want anyone to think about the Champions program as the bare minimum, but we've got to be realistic. Bare minimum is you hit that red light, people pay attention. You send out a message, it's high importance, people pay attention. They relay the threats, and then the reverse. If somebody sees a threat out there, they relay it back to us. That's bare minimum. So a Champions program has to be this positive, uplifting, supportive community where people are encouraged and enabled to go out and support others. I always say that our Champions program, which we at our highest point, we had 950 champions. We've had mergers here at our company, so numbers are a bit different, and we'll have to wait till the end of the year to get some solid numbers right now. But 950 out of 15,000, that's almost 1 in every 15 people. That's a lot of candles. And all of these people, because I recruited most of them myself, have a vested interest in cybersecurity in some way or another. Again, organic growth, talking to people at either a new hire orientation or some sort of event where you can set up a table and get people to sign up. That's what the Champions program that I run is. We took it from 40, then it got to 100, then it got to 270, then it got to 350, and then it got to 400. And the thing that really took it to the next level, guest presentations. If you go out and you talk to people like we just talked about before, being the carrot and not the stick, everybody feels enabled at the end of that meeting and they're happy. They want to chase that dragon. They want to chase that feeling. They want to understand more because it's fun to learn. It's fun to understand things that you didn't before. You feel better when you've learned something. So at the end of that presentation, I say, hey, anybody want to join the Champions program? Here's a link, or give me your name right now and I'll sign you up. It ballooned from 400 at the beginning of 2024 to over 750 at the end of that quarter, the first quarter 2024, because we had a massive push towards guest presentations. And when you talk to people like they're people, not like they're going to get hit on the head with a stick like you're Rafiki from Lion King, like you're not that guy. They're going to want to learn more. They're going to want to do more, and they're going to want to volunteer to do things for you. That's it.
That is super interesting. I have so many questions about everything you just
Please.
shared. I think one thing to start is when you talk about guest presentations, are these the presenters that are guests?
Yes.
Or is this more like you're presenting to non-champions? Because it sounded like that was part of the approach as well. Right? We're going to invite folks who aren't champions yet. We're going to help them learn about something. And then we're going to invite them in. So describe that for me.
Sure. There's those three things. One, somebody requests that you go and do a presentation on phishing for their team. Now, their team may include champions. It may be the champion that requested that because the champion knew that there was a deficiency on their team for because they have the knowledge. They have the most knowledge of their team for phishing, and so they want to remediate. They want to shore up those defenses. It could also be guest presentation. Could be me going and talking to school kids or something like that. And then I'm that guest, or you could consider those school kids coming into here to Rocket to be guests as well. And then a third aspect of it, and I really should define these better now that I'm speaking them aloud, is when a champion comes and as a guest does a presentation for the champions. So at a champions meeting where it's exclusively just other champions, they want to talk about social engineering or medical privacy, data privacy in the medical community, or something like that. Something that they have experience and expertise on that they can level everybody else up. So that's guest presentations. Obviously, what we're really talking about here is not the school kids who can't become champions, and not preaching to the choir who are already champions, but doing a guest presentation for a group that maybe was solicited by a champion, maybe is a large group. I've talked to a client experience group that was 3,000 team members, where it was very hard to talk to everybody. So you're more, I have to be entertaining, I have to be engaging, I have to be educational, I have to fold all those things together. But at the end of that presentation, I threw up a link on the screen, join the security champions, and you would not believe how many security champions we got, information security champions we got from that. So yeah, guest presentations, getting out there. Look, I have a quote. Can I give you a quote from Sands?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Of course.
You need an awareness security person that has time. Don't pick someone who is grumpy. Pick someone who really likes interacting with others. This has proven to take off. This person must have time to respond every day. That's a direct quote from Lance, from SANS. I got my certification through SANS. That is important. Think about that line. Don't pick someone who is grumpy. If I go into a guest presentation, somebody's requested that I come in. They're asking for that education. They're going above and beyond their normal job. They're taking time and money away from the company by having me, educate. Actually, they'll probably save money because they got the education that'll help them save money. If I go into that meeting and I'm grumpy, are they ever going to invite me back? Probably not.
No, of course not.
I probably just ruined a connection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I talk about this a lot in terms of making sure you deliver. Once they finally show up to something, or even they requested to be there, that is the opportunity to really make an impact, right? So if you're grumpy, you do it wrong, etc. It's not so much checking a box. Did we do this? Did we have a training? Did we give a presentation? It's how you go about it, right? And you're either gonna win fans or you're gonna turn people away. I actually think about this is probably funny, but I think about Guitar Hero. Did you ever play that? You're playing
terrible,
that, right?
Terrible at it.
Okay, I'm kind of terrible too. I actually play real guitar.
So do I.
I don't know if you can see my guitar in the background.
Like there's a disconnect.
So I'm like, I don't know, buttons, like whatever, where are the strings and all that stuff. But here's the point that in that game, if you're doing well and you're hitting all the right buttons, the fans are like, yeah, and they get all more and more excited. But if you start hitting the wrong notes and you start to get off, then you can hear the fans start to get, annoyed or boo or whatever it is. And I always think about that too. Like when I'm giving a presentation, I just sort of think about Guitar Hero, right? Am I getting everyone pumped up or is everyone going to start booing at me?
Yeah.
But I think that's really important.
And there's an important aspect for the guest presentations outside of just getting champions as well. And that's metrics.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a scorecard or a way of measuring how well people are doing as far as your simulations go, take a note of that before the guest presentation. Take note of that. Whatever that number is, whatever you can assign to that group or that leader, pardon me, or whatever you want to do, take note of that. And then take that score down. And then in a quarter or a half a year or a year, take a look at that score again and see if that score got better. And you can't directly attribute it. Of course, maybe they watched a YouTube video on phishing and got more of an education for them on that. But you need to be able to take those metrics back to your leaders to prove what you're doing is working, because your higher ups are going to they're just looking at numbers. They're not talking to people. They're looking at numbers. They want to know exactly what those numbers are doing what we're doing to get those numbers to be better. The other metric is, of course, count how many champions you got out of that. That's a huge metric that shows engagement, that shows buy-in on an individual level, which is hugely important. No matter if your leaders say it's important or not, I'm telling you right now it is. Getting that kind of engagement, having somebody, because it's tough. It's tough to sign up for something. How many things are you asked to sign up for daily? You walk through Walmart, somebody's going to try to get you to sign up for AT&T or something like that. You're like, I got a busy day. I got a lot of stuff to do. So we were blessed to have 950 champions at that one point, that high point, who all bought in. I guarantee you could send an email saying, hey, this is super important. Our CEO's getting spoofed or something like that. Pay attention to this. And they would, and they'd spread the word. Now, there's a stratification of interest in a champions group for sure, and you should play to that. The lowest common denominator, maybe they don't know a lot about phishing. The more technical people, yeah, they're probably going to be buttoned up on some of those things. So you really have to play to those strengths. In the way that I did that with our champions group is I created subgroups: technical champions, data privacy champions, quiz and trivia champions, enterprise risk champions. That way, when I have one of those meetings, I can allow those who maybe wouldn't understand those topics or aren't interested in those topics. They want the bare minimum, or they want that lowest common denominator, rather. They want that phishing training. This isn't that. This is us taking apart the lawnmower, seeing how the lawnmower works, that technical kind of thing, or diving into NYDFS, like all sorts of regulations for one state or something like that. Those people will be interested in that. Maybe you only get 40 or 50 or 60 in that meeting, something like that. That's okay. That's okay. It's not about the quantity. It's about the quality of what you deliver and what they take away from those meetings. And And then you could have quarterly meetings, of course, where you play to the lowest common denominator. You get all, you get 200 or 300 people in there if you can, and just talk about phishing or talk about the risks that are there. One of the most successful meetings that we had recently was the one that I did last week, where I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to pull a bunch of scary stories about hacks and scams affecting big businesses. I'm going to pull a bunch of those, and we're going to sit in a room, and I'm going to talk to you about them. We're going to come off mute. I'm going to watch you in the chat having a bunch of fun, talking about other scams that you saw, letting it cascade naturally and organically, just providing them that fun experience where everybody can get involved and voice their opinion.
Yeah, that's awesome. So the scale here is something I definitely want to talk about, because this is a large program, if not just by the count, but certainly by the percentage, right, of the company that's actually involved. How do you support a program like this? What does it take, right? I think one of the reasons I'm asking this question is because I've certainly seen an approach where, we have a champion program, but we don't really have time to support it, right? I only have 10% of my time. So why don't we just sort of stick people in a Slack or Teams channel and they'll talk, right? Tell me more, like, what does it take to actually support a larger program like this?
It's all dependent on what you want to do and what your capabilities are and what your leaders want you to do and everything like that. But if we're just talking about the approach that I had, where it was sort of, I didn't have you back in the day. I didn't have a lot of people to talk to about a champions program back in the day. I was figuring all this stuff out by myself. And my leaders were constantly like, how many champions do we have? How many champions do we have? How many champions do we have? That was the metric that was driving leadership buy-in. So just starting out, didn't know, didn't take my SANS training or anything like that. Didn't really know exactly what I was doing. So what I focused on was just capturing as many people as I could and delivering for those people as much as possible. And what that does, if you focus on the people first, especially that linchpin, the number one champion, so to speak, if you focus on them first, they're going to afford you the time and they're going to be your support system. Look, my awareness team, full-time jobs, they'll have full-time jobs. My full-time job is to be the champions lead. I folded in the analog education as well. So we're all really, really maxed out as far as our bandwidth goes. So rely on who you can rely on. Rely on those people who are buying in. So what we did last year was we created an officers program. So our top 5 champions became officers. And they supported us by responding to questions in the chat, throwing emojis, everywhere to show support, coming to all of our meetings or most of our meetings, whatever ones they could make. When we have an event, coming and helping me set up during the event and everything like that. I recently had a couple companies approach me, it was in August, and ask, what do I do? How do I set up a champions program to begin with? And that's what I told them was, find your linchpin, find your one. Who have you talked to the most about cybersecurity? Have you gone and done guest presentations? Who's requested the most guest presentations? Who wants to join information security? Who's asking you, how do I get into information security? That's a champion. That's one of your best champions, because they're going to go all out to prove themselves, to try to either get into information security or get you to prop them out to their leader, or just out of the goodness of their own heart because they care about the subject matter and they want to do that. If you do that, it will grow organically. You find your linchpin, that linchpin's going to talk to a lot of people. You're going to talk to more people. You're going to get more linchpins. It's going to grow organically like that. You'll have the availability to go and do guest presentations. Now, it's going to grow past what you can realistically accomplish. Think about the subgroups that I talked about. Data privacy champions, technical champions, enterprise risk champions, quiz and wordle group. I had to have an intern to automate the quiz and wordle questions because I simply didn't have time every Tuesday and Wednesday morning to write those questions out, research, or do anything like that. You have to do whatever you can, but also if you're overwhelmed, cut the things that don't matter, or I won't say don't matter because they do matter. Cut the things that you just can't do at the time. Right now, I'm not able to do a newsletter. I'm not able to do a newsletter at all. I was when my intern was here, but right now I can't. I had to cut it. And our champions understand, but that's the reality of the situation. So what I recommend is when you're growing your champions program, make sure your leaders know that quality is better than quantity. Now, I'm lucky. The people that we have here in our champions group, they're quality and quantity. I got very, very lucky. But the worst thing that you can do is get overwhelmed. And I've got a quote from SANS about that as well. Do you want that one too?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, quotes are good. Quotes are good. Quotes are memorable, and
The quote
absolutely.
is, these programs fail because they scale too big too fast and become overwhelmed. That's it. That's the truth. So don't be me. Even though we've got a pretty good handle on it here at Rocket, don't be me. Be you. Understand what the limitations you have in front of you are. Talk to your leaders about what their expectations are. If they have no expectations, reach out to your community. There's a great supportive infosec awareness champions community. Obviously, we're talking to each other right now. Those of you listening are part of that community. Reach out to those community members. Find that help outside of work whenever you can, be it an organization or a program or whatever it may be. Find your help. Find your help inside and outside your organization. That's the best way to go, because you shouldn't have to do it on your own. You shouldn't just be relying on your own instinct. Champions program, they used to be a novel thing. They used to be a new kind of thing. I mean, information security in general used to be a novel, new kind of thing. It's not anymore. The community exists now. Get your help.
Yeah, get support from others for sure. And I think that certainly came out in the Security Champions Summit that we attended as well.
Yeah, that was excellent.
It's a growing community of folks who are trying to build these programs. So the more we can learn from each other, the better.
And we're not competitors.
I hate to do this because this is such a great conversation, but we are nearing the end. And I did want to give you a chance to give everyone a takeaway. Although everything you just said was a fantastic takeaway. So if you just want to put a pin in that and say, you know what, I've said what I need to say, that's totally fine. But if you have something else, please share.
I've got one, and it sticks to me. I did a book club for information security on the book Good to Great by Jim Collins. Very famous book, big red book. He's got a slew of other books that follow up. But the idea of just being good enough is never one that I've subscribed to. That bothers me big time. When I took over the program in 2021 fully, I was told, all right, remember you had mentioned kind of the same kind of thing. All right, let's let the program run itself. Let's let people do the channels and everything. Let's let it run itself. And I said, nah, I'm going to double down and I'm going to invest more. I can't stand it the way that it is now. It needs to be better. I went against my leadership to make it even better. That drew a lot more success. So what I'm saying is my takeaway is your champions program just good enough? Leveling up that champions program is going to help everyone. Everyone. Can you commit to it? Maybe, maybe not. Will your leaders buy in? Maybe, maybe not. But you should not be resting on just good enough. You should always be thinking about ways to improve, and that includes, reaching out to your fellow professionals in the industry and getting a little bit of guidance from those who maybe have done more.
I love that. That's fantastic. All right. Well, you really delivered on that takeaway, even though you already had another it's like 2 takeaways or several takeaways from this.
I got more.
You got more? Oh goodness.
No, not right now.
Well, I gotta cut us off. I hate to do this. But this has been another episode of the Security Champions podcast, and I've been talking to Mark here, and this has just been fantastic. So I really appreciate it, Mark. Thanks for sharing all your wisdom, some of the challenges that you went through, how this sort of applies to the broader awareness program that you're trying to implement, and so forth. It was a pleasure. Thanks a bunch for being on the show.
It's my pleasure. Always a pleasure to talk to you.
Fantastic. All right. Talk to you later, Mark.